I ultimately made the man who tried to scam me pay me nearly $5,000. And it all started with a minor fender bender over a Big Mac. Before we get into it, you should know a little about me. I'm 22. And I work as a construction foreman, running a few crews. I started in this field doing summer work when I was 14, which is legal in my state. So I have a lot of experience and get paid pretty well for my age. The job requires a truck that can pull heavy trailers and handle sketchy job sites, especially in the winter. So I drive a new lifted F-350. Now for the story. About 4 months ago, I got off work and was too tired to cook. So I hit the McDonald's drive-thru for a Big Mac. After getting my food, I was trying to pull out of the drive-thru lane and into the main parking lot. I was looking hard to my left, checking how busy the main road was. And I wasn't paying enough attention to what was right in front of me. As I was creeping forward, I didn't see that the car ahead of me had stopped. I ended up barely hitting his mirror and scraping his door with my front end. I immediately put my truck in reverse and hopped out. I made sure the other driver was okay and apologized, knowing it was completely my fault. I asked him if he wanted to call the police. Let's call him Martin. Martin says, "Nah bro. We are all good. If you just get me your insurance info, I think we can get this taken care of." I was fine with that. My truck had no damage. And in a private parking lot. You don't have to call the cops for a minor accident. We exchanged information. And he seemed pretty cool. I told him to go get a damage estimate and I'd just pay for it in cash to keep my insurance rates from going up. As long as he was okay with that. He said that was fine. And we both left. I felt like an idiot. But Martin seemed like a decent guy. And I just hoped it would get sorted out smoothly. A month went by. And I heard nothing from Martin or the shop I recommended. Honestly, I wasn't too worried. If he decided not to get it fixed, that was on him. Then, one day around noon, he called. He said he couldn't remember my name and wanted to tell the shop who sent him. I gave him my name and he mentioned the shop gave him a deal. A little later, he sent me the bid for the damages, $2. 403. It was more than I expected. But I told him to get it done and I'd take care of the bill. Another month passes with no word. Then, Martin calls me at work again. "Hey brother." He starts. I talked to the shop and they said they can't get me in for another 2 weeks or so. And they may end up charging me more if they find more damage. I tried to be understanding. "Okay, sounds good. Just let me know, man," I said. "I hope it goes smooth for you and I'm sorry for the inconvenience." He seemed to take it well. But then he followed up with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $2. 500 and we can call it even." This struck me as odd. Why wouldn't you want your car repaired properly? With all costs covered? It reminded me of a story I once read online about a guy whose buddy tapped a car in a parking lot. The owner kept coming back asking for more cash, first a few hundred for touch-up paint. Then another $500 for a cracked bumper. Then thousands for a bent frame. It was a clear shakedown. Martin's offer felt a little too similar. Still, wanting to be done with it, I replied, "Okay man. Let's set a time and place to meet and I'll get you paid." He agreed and said he'd let me know. Predictably, another month went by with total silence. I was getting fed up. One night at 11 p.m., he hits me up asking to meet in town. I found this pretty disrespectful since I had to be at work at 5 a.m. But I agreed. I got $2,500 in cash together and wrote up a quick contract. It stated that his acceptance of the $2,500 was payment in full for the damages and that by accepting it, he would release me from any and all liability. It was just our verbal agreement. Now in writing. We met up. I handed him the cash. And he signed the contract without even glancing at it. Even turning down a copy for himself. At that moment, Martin scribbled his name on the paper. Completely unaware that this single, careless signature would be the anchor that dragged his entire scheme to the bottom of the ocean. It was a huge red flag. But I just figured he didn't care. I sent him a photo of the signed contract just in case and went home. A month later, feeling carefree, I checked my mail. Inside was a notice from a lawyer. Martin was suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. I was furious. But I also knew I was covered. I had our text messages and, most importantly, a signed contract. I tried calling Martin, but he had already blocked my number. Luckily, my girlfriend works for a lawyer who was happy to help. He told me I had saved my own skin with that contract, as any contract over $500 is legally binding in my state's courts. Now it was my turn. I remembered seeing a business logo on the side of Martin's car in the pictures I took of the damage. I went online and looked up the company on the Better Business Bureau, thinking there was no way this idiot could own a business. I was wrong. He was the owner. And his company had a dozen one-star reviews, all in dispute over his shady practices. His pattern was telling people a job would cost one price, and then charging them 4 times the estimate. Sound familiar? He was suing me for $10,000. Exactly 4 times the original $2. 403 repair bid. This is where Martin's plan unraveled. Exposing his greatest flaw, he was a one-trick pony. He treated every situation and every person with the same shady playbook, assuming no one would ever be smart enough to check his work. My lawyer took note of all this, and we prepared for war. In court, as we were getting set up, Martin smirked at me and said, "You ready to give me more of Daddy's money?" I guess because I'm young and drive a nice truck. His lawyer stood up and launched into a story about how I was a hit-and-run driver and how Martin barely managed to snap a picture of my plate. He claimed I bullied his client into taking a lowball offer of $2,500 when the damages were clearly much higher. The story was full of holes. Then it was our turn. Imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer laid out the evidence. Piece by piece, first, the printouts of our entire text message history. Then the physical copy of the contract, signed by Martin himself. Martin's lawyer went ghostly white. He looked sick. His face went slack, his eyes darting from the signature on the page to his client's face with a look of pure disbelief and fury. A heavy silence fell over the courtroom. But my lawyer wasn't finished. He pulled out his hidden gem, the printouts of all the complaints from the BBB, showing the judge Martin's established pattern of trying to fleece people. That was the final nail in the coffin. The judge announced he had seen enough. He asked Martin if he had any final statements. And Martin, in an act of spectacular self-destruction, said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore. Can I just get that then and we will be okay?" He literally admitted to the judge that he had received my money and that his entire story was a lie. I thought his lawyer was going to strangle him right there in the courtroom. It was beautiful. The judge ruled completely in my favor. He ordered Martin to pay all of my legal fees, plus damages and lost wages for the work I had to miss for court. And here's the sweetest part, on that particular day, my crew was on a very high-wage job. As the foreman, I'm the one who gets paid before paying out my subcontractors. This meant my lost wages were calculated at $475 an hour. The whole ordeal took about 5 hours. In the end, Martin, the man who sued me for 10 grand, ended up having to pay me almost $5,000. I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. In the end, this whole ordeal taught me a crucial lesson: a simple piece of paper and a bit of due diligence can be your strongest shield against those who try to exploit your goodwill. It's a shame people try these kinds of shakedowns. But being prepared is the best defense. So, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had a simple, honest agreement turn into an absolute nightmare?